the takeover was the bit we were all waiting to hear about, really. But obviously, with the NDAs, there's only so much they can say. I think, again, I put this out on Twitter, and I may be naive about this, but I think possibly when he's talking about, I won't go through to the end of Q1, um, that issue would seem to put to bed January and what's going on then. Obviously, in January, they said, oh, we're always thinking about this. But my gut feeling is that if there is money coming in, if there is investment involved, and it is available in January, then the last thing the club would want to do is reveal that it has money available in January, because every club will then put their prices up, thinking, well, Tranmere are loaded, they can afford this. So it wouldn't be in the club's interests to disclose that, actually, do you know what, we have got a cash investment and we can spend it in January. Um, it's an excuse to rip us off, really. So I remain hopeful that things can be done next month. And let's face it, they need to be, because we could do with at least one goal scorer through the doors. And in the end, I think my view of the Q&A is coloured by the fact that the next day we turned in a good performance and took a much needed 3 points against Harrogate. And I think that is the easiest way to take the heat off everybody, the manager, the chairman. We all at 5 o'clock on Saturday were a lot happier than we were. And as long as we get through the Christmas period with a few more wins under our belt, as long as we're nowhere near that 23rd place, then that buys the chairman a lot more time in the fans' eyes to get things done and to move us forward. So, yeah, I think the takeover is the most important thing. And I think they revealed as much as they could legally, because obviously their hands are tied to a certain extent.
Don't you think, sorry, Matt, if you're the buying party in this, the Americans or Takapino leading it or whatever, they're in this for money, nothing else. It's there as an investment to make money, which is different to what the current owners have got. So there's going to be the issue. If we go down, obviously it's in a completely different position from what they want. You've got, as a buying party, and this is what I do for a job, they've got a lot more leverage while we're struggling, because there's the pressure on the seller to unload it. I would be pushing it down the road if I was the buying party until I was absolutely sure relegation was off the table. Absolutely no question on that. So I suspect, and I have done for a while, that, as Will says, the more wins we get in and start moving away, and looking at the fixtures, we could be 15 points clear of the bottom, within a few weeks, if big ifs. But we could be, and I suspect negotiations will speed up quite quickly then, because everyone's a bit more relaxed about where we're going to be by the end of the season. But even if it does go through, I mean, if you think of the size of the whole bid, the contracts and whatever, even if that does go through in time for January, somebody's been obviously looking at the books for months and months and months. As the buyer, and again, you've got to reiterate, they're only in it for money. They're going to look through the books and say, okay, you've spent, £1 million on salaries so far. It's not really working. You're down the bottom. Here's another $250,000. Have another go. I mean, you're not going to chuck cash at things like that, other than just try and make sure that you get away from the relegation zone if you need to. If we're away from him, unless they think they can invest enough to get us up towards the playoffs, which is unlikely. I think it's just going to be kind of holding position, probably no investment in January if we look safe, just enough if we don't, and then start planning for next season and go from there. I don't think there's going to be kind of magic checks thrown in next month to start doing something unless there's a real need to. That's assuming it goes through, of course. So you're talking about signings, and Will's right. I've thought this all season. If we just had a goal scorer, even if we changed none of the personnel apart from had a goal scorer in there, we'd be nowhere near the bottom. We're making enough chances. You've given the stats on it recently, Matt. So if we just had a goal scorer, I think we'd be well clear. But in terms of, do we get somebody in January? We've probably got 3 lists going on behind the scenes. As if we've got no takeover, no money coming in at all. If we've got some money coming in, I think The chairman alluded to it and in the Q&A, saying there may be money available if we need to, I think was the phrase he used. So it's probably going to be a loan against the ground. And then there'll be a list, I guess, like a wish list. If we do suddenly come into lots of money, we can go and start cherry picking people, and that's the least likely one. So you've probably got those whole three scenarios going on, and we're trying to start tapping people up and all the rest of it on three different levels. Don't envy their job.
I guess the counter to them saying they might not spend money because Tranmere might be safe in the table or whatnot, or there's no value in throwing money at it, is that the gap actually in this league up to the top 7 isn't that much. And that's what's the tantalising prospect, is that Tranmere have been so bad, so bad for large chunks of this season, but actually the distance that they are from the relegation zone and the distance that they are from the top 7, there isn't that much between them. They're fairly equidistant, if you like. So that there is that tantalising prospect that, as you say, if they can get one or two players in January, then perhaps that could be the difference between being a top 7 club, being a mid-table club, being a lower mid-table club, or being a bottom 2 club. And we are very much getting way ahead of ourselves in uncertain times at the moment. But that is a fact of the matter, that it is a poor league with a lot of teams very closely bunched together. And if you were to suddenly go on a run of 5 or 6 wins in a row, then you would leap quite a few positions up the table.